Hello everybody, welcome to Nerdy Neighbors. My name is Vince, and joining me is the iron thrown to my Drogon.
Hi, I'm Zack. Please don't melt me.
This is a podcast where we talk about nerdy stuff that interests us, varying degrees of modern day zeitgeist. This will be more zeitgeisty than most, so spoilers ahead.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks are going to be have been super zeitgeisty. But yes, blanket spoiler warning every episode. And that also means if we did spoil something for you, don't tweet it at us or call me on my actual phone. You know who you are.
I was about to say, nobody tweets it at us, so that's for somebody extremely specific. So we start every week with news. I've got one big piece of news and then a piece of news that I think we're both going to cover.
Start with your big piece.
Okay. Marvel released Disney released their slate of movies through 2027.
Yeah.
So
you sent that to me.
Yes.
That's
well,
exciting.
I sent you the Marvel ones, and I don't know if that's official.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was like fan servicey. But the big pieces of news that we got are in 2020. We're supposed to be getting 2 Marvel movies. It's rumored to be the Eternals and the Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Black Widow movie is supposed to take place in between Civil War and Endgame, I believe.
Oh, I was hoping for a Cold War movie.
I was also hoping for like a Budapest.
Yeah.
But, what can we do? And then...
Is the rumor mill still going around that Bucky's in that, like training her and stuff?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that he will
well,
be.
that's canon in the comics.
It's canon
and
in
not
the
only
comics,
that, they fell in love.
Yeah, but I don't think that they would take the plot there.
Well, she does say in Civil War when she's fighting him in that office, the least you could do is recognize me.
Yeah. I think that would call back to their previous times together.
Can't find it.
But for 2021 and 2022, we should be getting 3 Marvel movies each.
So the thing you sent me isn't
it
gospel?
No.
Okay.
No, that's
Closer to the mic.
It's more street gospel than anything else. So on top of that, we should be getting Star Wars movies starting in 2022, and then I think it's every 2 years.
And as much as me and you were both like, hey, let's see what happens, we're both not too stoked about the DB.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see what happens, of course.
Exactly.
But not...
Praying that it's Benny Nice, or DB Nice, and not Benny off. But, I don't know.
It feels like a birthday party your mom's making you go to. Like, it's a birthday party. They're traditionally fun.
The rumors are it's supposed to be like Knights of the Old Republic, and that would be dope.
I'd love that.
The only reason that's in the rumor mill is because they did Game of Thrones, and that's fantasy, old time.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure if that's where they would go.
Here's why I like that is it gives me my space wizards.
Right, exactly.
Something they were talking about on my brother's podcast, the last episode I listened to, the only episode I listened to, was that like anytime you do a Star Wars thing that doesn't have Jedi, it's the criminal underworld.
Right.
And it's like, so is that it?
Yeah, that's all there is. It's just
and I totally understand
Paragons of Faith or the seedy underbelly, and there's no middle ground.
And I totally understand why you wouldn't do like a Star Wars soccer mom movie.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind it. Who's the
you
singer?
specifically wouldn't mind
who's the singer from Jabba's Palace?
Yeah.
Just follow her in her everyday life.
Bib Fortuna or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. On top of that, we are finally getting the 4 Avatar movies that everybody asked for.
Oh. You really sold that.
Yeah. 2021.
I've never saw the first one.
Have you seen Pocahontas or Fern Gully?
I said to people, I constantly said to people, I've seen Last of the Mohicans and I've seen Dances with Wolves. I get it.
Yeah. That's it. It's that with more fanfare.
Yeah. I wouldn't take this joy from anyone. I have a friend who loves that first movie.
Right.
And more power to you.
Yeah. So we should be getting, it should be a trade-off of Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars.
Interesting couple of years.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what James Cameron's cooked up in that submarine.
So they're shooting Bond 25 right now. There's still no title.
Okay.
Daniel Craig has already sustained an injury to his ankle, which is postponed shooting because he's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't Yeah, he's pushing it.
And he's like a Jeremy Renner type guy where if he can do it, he will.
Right.
So you could see his face and stuff.
Yeah. Who's the oldest actor to play Bond?
It's like sort of a tie between Roger Moore and Sean Connery.
Okay.
But technically, because of Don't Never Say Never Again, Connery was the oldest. He was, I believe, 67 in that. And Roger Moore stopped doing...
Buckaroo.
James Legos. Roger Moore, interestingly enough, stopped wanting to play Bond when he was older than the femme fatale's mother. Yeah. The femme fatale of that mom, who in that movie is Donna's mom from that 70s show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nice. She's the femme fatale in the Christopher Walken one. View to a Kill. Oh. But basically, and it was in that one where his co-star's mother came to set. It was her birthday that day, and she was 54.
Right,
and he was like, "I gotta stop doing this.
That's a bit too much."
So, but like it's splitting hairs.
Yeah.
To answer your question,
right.
I mean, Connery was technically a year older.
Gotcha.
They're basically the same age.
Okay,
Connery and Moore.
Gotcha.
So, and then the final piece of Bond news is that Daniel Craig gets an intimacy coordinator for Bond 25 sex scenes.
They weren't satisfied with how he'd be doing it?
They also don't really go into what an intimacy coordinator actually is. So, open to interpretation.
Yeah, by all means. Sure.
Did you see Spectre?
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to kill his girlfriend in the beginning of the movie?
Maybe... Like, they could do what they did with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, right? Where... it kind of feels like they're playing in a loop, right?
No. Okay, On Her Majesty's Secret... As a big Bond fan, that's what Spectre was.
Right.
In kind of a winking at the... Like, if you know, don't worry, we're doing this for you.
Exactly.
In that way, I was sort of hoping she would die at the end. But, in the books proper... She does die in the same way on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but then the next book is Bond hunting down, Christoph Waltz. I forget his name now. Blofeld. Excuse me. Yeah. And like, there's this great, death guard. Like, Blofeld has this death garden.
That's pretty great.
Bond ends up using this mutated Japanese strangling plant to kill Blofeld, and it's really, really cool, and I'd love to see that on film.
Right.
So anyways, that's it. After you, that's the end of my Bond news.
Well, the other piece of news I got is the Batman casting.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about this in news.
Yes. So Zach, rumor mill's been less of a rumor mill, more of a solidified, guaranteed type thing. But I believe we're looking at Robert Pattinson for our new Batman.
Okay, so I thought we might have felt similarly about this, but I don't think we do. So this bothers you?
No, not at all.
Me neither.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson is a very good actor.
Rewind back to, 2006? Where it was announced that Heath Ledger would be playing Joker, and
everybody went wild.
I did. I was like, after Jack Nicholson, this Australian pansy from 10 Things I Hate About You, I could not accept it, and I was like, this movie's gonna suck.
He's more geek than freak, damn it.
Yeah, and I also was still a little pissy about Liam Neeson playing
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah,
quote unquote Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, because.
He's a white dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, I feel it.
And he crushed the goatee.
Yeah, he did. There was less swashbuckling than I wanted.
So, when I heard about this, and we joke about it on this podcast a lot, I'm a little older than you. So Twilight means nothing to me.
Yeah.
It was a thing that was on Burger King cups. I have not seen one of those films.
You're missing out.
Vince is picking up my TV remote and putting Twilight on.
The rest of this podcast is just going to be us listening to Twilight.
We're just going to watch Twilight, and you guys have to listen to us. Yeah. A petition has gone out.
Oh boy, the petition!
And this is the other thing I want to talk to you about in news today.
Yes.
This petition culture that we're in.
Yeah.
People revolted against this latest season of Game of Thrones, which is the topic of today's episode, ladies and gents. And people are, like the tail of that kite was people revolting to the Robert.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody jumping on board.
And Vince and I talk a lot on this podcast about killing your darlings.
Yes, like the best way to enjoy something is with its own merit.
This stuff shouldn't be so precious to you. And this is coming from two guys who have a podcast about pop culture.
Yeah,
like
exactly. We care about it.
Yeah,
like
we appreciate also having like a burning passion and wanting to talk about it and analyze it and all that kind of stuff.
And you can even critique things. That's the point of media in general, is to absorb it and take your own opinion and talk to others about it.
Exactly. But this new kind of nanny culture that we're in, where someone goes, no, I don't want that, I want that, and they stamp their foot, is how these petitions feel to me.
Yep.
And they also, me and you would joke about the Last Jedi one early in the podcast and smirk at each other because we didn't know that this was going to become a phenomenon.
Exactly.
Anytime nerds were upset.
I thought it was just like a one-off thing because I know Star Wars fans are super passionate, and I should have known comic book fans are also super passionate. But like,
little did we know it was the first domino to fall.
You would think that people who saw the way, like, the thing that makes the Star Wars petition so funny is that, like, they asked for donations, but they didn't require payment.
Yeah.
So the petition got up to $6 billion.
Yeah.
Like, it's a small nation, or not even a small nation, it's a hefty nation's GDP.
Yeah.
And they will never make the light of day.
Yeah.
Because you have people who would go in, like, it, oh my goodness.
Yeah, see, both of our brains are melting because it is so ludicrous. Like, both of our brains start going, okay, so even if you get that money, you need rights, you need things that studios have that aren't giving away because you got
exactly.
It's such a massive waste of time, and this is not a political podcast, so I won't go that far into it, but if you signed one of those petitions and you live in Alabama or Missouri, go screw.
Yeah.
There's like super important stuff going on right now. And if you have time to focus on Robert Pattinson playing Batman. Yeah. And Danny blew up King's Landing, and that's more important to you. Like, And also, so going back to more nerd stuff, sorry for the political thing. It's that joke that we make sometimes of like, go write your own script.
Exactly.
Take some action figures.
Fanfic, man.
Yeah.
Smash your action figures together.
Yeah.
Just do it your own way, and then it exists for you to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And you don't take away from the thing that could be awesome.
Yeah, and it's just, it is part of what is so frustrating about it, and we'll stop in maybe 5 more minutes, is that it is a complete waste of time. Is that it actually makes nerd culture seem really gross and unattractive.
Yeah, because you're acting as a gatekeeper for something that could be somebody's entry point.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to tell them, no, that's not how it should be done. You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
Yeah, it doesn't belong to you. That's the biggest thing. We have
also,
it, but
which
it's
part
not
of
ours.
Batman is concrete?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Is it it's the guy who had the gun who would snap people's necks in windowsills? Is it the venom-addicted Bruce who couldn't get over anything? Is it the cacophony Kevin Smith Batman who pissed his pants?
Is it the film noir Batman animated series guy?
Exactly.
Is it Michael Keaton going, let's get nuts?
Like, your favorite thing still exists. Mm-hmm. It will always exist. Your favorite thing will always be there when you need it to.
Well, and the other thing I question about these petitions is, like, following the Vince and I's logic of write your own fanfic, take your action figures and make it, like, after that, what are you writing in the universe? Like, what is the victory there? What's the empirical victory? Is it that, like, look, my art was better? Is it the no, if we do this right, you'll see everyone's gonna like this more? Like, that's the other thing, like, what's the end game?
Exactly. Yes.
Like, even once you get it.
What's the Infinity War?
Yeah. So I just, I needed to take 10 minutes out of it, because this was the type of thing, too, and I almost texted this to you, where it's like, I either have 5 minutes worth of thoughts on this, or I could talk to you about this for an hour, because nothing is more important to me than this weird community that I get to be a part of, and nothing grosses me out more than when they're acting gross and they're not. I mean, you, the internet, and that's the end of my petition beef. Although I will say this. The last thing I ever want to see in my Facebook feed, in my Gmail, and any of that stuff is a petition for a piece of art. Ever. Send me a petition about abortions or weed or I don't know. But
Ghosts. Like,
ghosts.
I don't care.
Send me a ghost petition.
Literally anything is more important.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
All right.
Yeah, let's
move
we
on.
need to get away from it.
But tangentially close to it, the only thing I've ever seen Robert Pattinson in is he was in this weird British indie movie with Matt Smith that was about getting fit, and it was really dark. And he seemed to be good in it. It was a really heady movie, and I don't know how I felt about the film at the whole. And I've also seen him in his heartbreaking portrayal of Cedric Diggory.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the dude has range.
Take my body to my father, Harry.
All right.
So that was news and our petition gripe. And people, if you're out there, if you feel the same way we do about petitions, me and Vince at our fan page have a petition about not petitioning anymore. That joke wasn't worth making. No, you're shaking your head.
It's staying in there.
You agree. It's staying in.
The world will hear it. Before we get into the subject, do you want to talk about some of the stuff I sent you, like the some of the stuff on that rumored slate?
The Marvel one? Sure.
Or do you have like any?
Well,
I know we talked about our wish list last episode.
Well, okay. When I saw the title of the Captain Marvel movie, I was like, Vince is right, maybe. Yeah. But I'm hoping
I'll post this to the Twitter, by the way, so everybody can know.
Well, it's Captain Marvel Annihilation.
Yes.
Which definitely implies Annihilix, which we, since our pilot, go back and forth on how to say that.
Yeah.
But I am way more in love with your theory that hopefully it's Doom.
Yeah.
Somehow, like the multiverse thing. So I'm hoping that Annihilus is like the Hela,
right?
Like kind of a like super uber powerful bad guy who's not to be messed around with, but not Thanos.
But one movie and done.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get us some Victor Von Doom.
Oh my God, it'd be so good.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Any other things that really stand out for me from that? That was the biggest thing that stood out for me because you and I had talked about it before.
Right. Exactly.
What about you?
The Doctor Strange Illuminati
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I could totally get behind. Like, I think we've already talked about how superhero movies have essentially become their own genre,
mm-hmm.
and how like you have different takes on that. So like you have the Winter Soldier is like a fantastic political thriller. I would love to see just like an Aaron Sorkin written.
Oh yeah,
like Illuminati movie about just these crazy, powerful individuals controlling the fate of the
Strange
world.
is like, Wong, float with me, and they go down the hall.
Yeah, they have a crazy, fast conversation that Wong can't keep up with.
The Namor gets introduced, we think, in the Black Panther sequel, right?
I think that
Namor and Atlanteans.
I think that's the case. Yeah.
Is there kind of a copyright infringement kind of a thing with Atlanteans?
Well, I don't think...
Is it open?
I don't think that they'll do Atlantis. But also, Atlantis is public domain, so it doesn't...
It is. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Namor's the king of Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, and he's throwing undersea earthquakes there, buddy.
I'm looking forward to that. I really hope... This might sound weird, but I hope they cast him Asian. We don't have any, like, Asian
Well,
superheroes.
speaking of that, so Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu... Master of Kung Fu.
Or few.
I mean,
after he's done fighting, you're like, whew, he saved the day. You gotta cut that out.
I know a few Kung Fus. But Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, should be getting a movie soon. And then Kevin Feige was asked recently about the Mandarin, if they had any plans.
That was in my
news.
news. That was in my news.
And he said that it's something that they're thinking about.
Did you ever see the that thing of the Mandarin and...
Oh, yeah, the bonus thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really Rockwell's cool. In that for a little bit.
Yeah, he was.
Our guy.
So great.
That, you know what? That's sort of it. I'm still having a little bit of PTSD from Endgame. I really want to see it again.
Yeah.
So it's a little bittersweet to me.
Yeah,
these next couple of movies. Not in a way that I'm not excited for them, I am.
Right, exactly.
But like I definitely feel a loss.
Yeah.
know?
It did its job.
It weighs heavy on my heart.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it did its job. That's the other thing. That's the best way to put it. Is like it's a little bittersweet because of how much this has meant to me.
Right. Yeah. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. Let's get into today's topic.
All right. We're gonna talk about Game of Thrones. It just ended last night. Was the series finale. It was a tumultuous 8th season.
Yes. Some refer to it as Wester Gross.
Yeah. There was a petition going around, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah. Make it right.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
So before we get into it in depth, it was recently released that HBO was willing to fund an 11-episode season, but the showrunners, DB Weiss, I almost said DB Nice.
Yeah.
DB Weiss and Benioff, they said, no, we can do it in 6 and we're done.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? I'm kind of in a weird spot where I feel like if we would have gotten the 11-episode season, maybe it would have been done a little bit better. Maybe it would have been done worse. But if it would have come out later that, like, hey, Weiss and Benioff said that they only needed 6 episodes, we would be thinking, oh, well, maybe a more succinct story would make it better.
I agree.
We have the benefit of hindsight here, but I don't know. Do you think an 11-episode season might have...
because here's the thing. I think what upset people was the stark character changes. Like one of the first things I want to say is I humble myself before your holy personage because you incredibly called that. And I was such a fan of Dany and I was so blinded by her righteousness.
Keep bowing.
That there was no way in my head. But you couldn't have been more right. You could not have been more right. Like she turned heel. She basically was like burn them all. She didn't say that line, but she set King's Landing on fire. Like, you Babe Ruth that motherfucker. Like you pointed to the sky and said, I smell a burning city. And so that being said, I truly think that was what was upsetting fans the most. I think in classic Game of Thrones style, like it or not, they subverted what everyone thought was going to happen. And it pissed people off.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to.
It was subversion for the sake of subversion. Like I think that's what pissed people off.
And it's what definitely grated against me.
Yeah.
I was angrier at this season until the petition thing started happening, and then it wasn't so much that I was defending it as it started making me question what I like about the show and what was bothering me. And what was bothering me was that I felt duped, but not because the show duped me, because I duped myself.
Right.
Because, something, again, to quote my brother's podcast, they said is like, it either becomes the show that it's been making fun of, or it completely subverts everyone's expectations for the purpose of subverting them. Yeah. Which is what it did. Yeah. And there were 2 roads there. And so...
They diverged into a burned down city.
So, just to answer your question... I don't think 11 episodes would have made a difference. I think the context was what was bothering me.
I am 100% with you.
Wanted Jon and Dany to ride into the sunset together. Yeah. I believe. Or some version of that.
Right. And also, I think that the ending that we got, that's the ending that Ger Martin would have given us. Like, I don't think he would have let them go that far off track. I don't think that each beat was the same. I don't think that the rushed character... quote-unquote development or development was what we would get in the books, but I don't think that ending is very far off from where he would have it end.
The ending I liked of the season, and I told you this when that episode came out. I loved that the second episode of just kind of like the deep breath before the plunge of the long night. Yep. Loved that episode, and I enjoyed the finale. And
I also enjoyed the finale.
The long night I have production issues with. Like, I am one of those guys who was like, I don't know, I was shot really dark. I was messing with my TV settings. Yeah. Every time I watched it. So I have those complaints like everyone else does. Right. I also felt like, I don't know, it's an interesting question, Vince, because like I also felt like the last 2 seasons were like on fast forward almost.
It definitely felt that way.
People would criticize the like jetpack traveling. Yeah. And I can't wholly disagree with that.
Yeah. I mean, as the guy coming from the guy who wants the exact rules for Sabacc, the whole jetpack travel, that's not really a huge deal for me.
I'm okay with it, except for there's a part of me that goes, even like that scene when Sam was like traveling, and like he was throwing up in the boat, and then they were in a wagon and all that kind of stuff. Like, but I appreciate we only have so much time.
Yes.
But stuff like that did grate against me, and I think stuff like that was even more evident in this season. Yeah. Not just the jetpack traveling, but like jetpack character choices and jetpack character, just stuff. And jetpack character stuff. I like it just felt so condensed and like, quick, get it out, get it out, get it out. Like, like literally someone handing someone else ammunition so he could just get right into the machine gun.
Just waving on the flag.
But at the same time, I kind of go back to like, I don't know if 11 episodes would have fixed that. I think it would have been more fluff.
I'm in the same boat. I think that 6 episodes was, I don't want to say a mercy killing, but it was definitely a quick and utter end.
Yeah.
To a flawed season.
Yeah.
Of the show. Yeah.
But it was flawed not because of the events that happened, but because of that fast-forwardy way that it felt. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, got a text.
Yeah, you did. From the professionalism board.
Yeah.
Were you upset at any point? Where like was like not petition level upset,
no.
But were you ever like, ugh, I'm actually not enjoying this that much?
Let's see. I would say I wasn't a fan of Cersei doing nothing.
Like all season long.
All season long, exactly.
Right.
Like she's ruthless and conniving, and she has plans. Like she's a Batman type character that like she's in a world full of monsters, but she is powerful. So I don't know. I think that there could have been more done. Like if she had a backup plan,
right.
I think that would have been good.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing that really grates against me. After watching the season finale, I felt unfulfilled. I am a guy who always has a hard time with endings. I don't like Return of the Jedi that much. I don't. No worries. No judgments here.
But I always knew. Yeah, same with that one. I always knew that the journey was going to be.
All this is getting cut.
I always knew the journey was going to be more satisfying than the conclusion.
Right.
Than the destination. But Daenerys was very precious to me. So her turn this season was upsetting for me.
Yeah.
But I understand how it makes a certain kind of sense. But because of what we were talking about earlier and like the almost like, let's just call it condensed fashion that this season was told.
That is a very apt way of putting it. Wow.
It didn't feel satisfying. It didn't feel organic, and it didn't feel terribly real.
It's the Diet Coke of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think we were talking in one episode on Pod about how I didn't understand why Sansa was so mistrustful of her. And it's almost like Sansa was mistrustful of her because she had the script.
Yeah, exactly. She knew what was going to happen.
She knew what was going to happen on page 57.
Yeah.
So that kind of crap, because I kind of stand by like Sansa really didn't see Dany do anything that goes, oh, this chick's going to lose it.
Right.
Like, nothing was really happening. Of course, we, the audience, have seen her kill the Masters of Astapor and do all that kind of crap. And that was fine because they were bad guys, just like Tyrion says.
Yep.
But
that was a really powerful speech, by the way.
That was the most brilliant scene in the whole episode.
I agree
it was
with
the best scene.
Yeah.
I mean, but he carried that episode. It was on his, magnificent shoulders.
Do you want to hear a little bit of Vince's defense?
Sure.
Okay. So I've seen a lot of people online, like sort of, they have their issues with the turn. And I've had a thought about the turn since it happened that after watching the finale, it kind of wavers a bit, but like the week it came out, I was like, yeah, no, I stand behind this 100%. So in all of the cities before that Dany has liberated, she's shown up, confronted the
status quo,
the oppressive force,
yeah,
and the people have responded to it.
Yeah.
But in King's Landing,
in Westeros, nobody likes her.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of fed into her turn.
Her ego,
that, like,
yeah, absolutely.
I've shown you that I exist. You don't need to put up with this anymore.
Yeah.
You can rebel, and I will help you.
Yeah.
And when the bells rang, but people didn't, like, flood out of the city, I saw her taking that as, oh, then they're with her.
Well, for me, it wasn't that literal. For me, it was this place has been completely ungrateful to her and not welcoming. And almost everywhere else she went, she was welcomed and loved on a certain level.
Exactly.
And I mean, there were a lot of scenes showing us the resentment she had towards Jon and her ability to identify that type of love and want it for herself.
Right.
Almost like an addict. And, that's the thing that kind of grates against me was this haphazard, like, oh no, she's hooked on the love of the people. Like, it's not that to me that isn't real or something, but to me, it is a hell of a thing to give us in the last season.
Right.
And I understand it couldn't really come up before, but like, there was truly such a jump from Daenerys in season 7 to Daenerys in season 8.
Very much so.
And I understand the logic of it all. Like you said, like, almost everywhere she went, she was loved and welcomed, and the slaves freed themselves. They came out and called her Misa.
Right.
In Astapor, in Meereen, the slaves freed themselves and all that kind of stuff. And then she comes to Westeros, and she goes to the north, and they will barely look at her.
Yeah.
And even after
not feeling it.
Yeah, even after the death of the Night King and all that kind of stuff, it's like, everyone's gathered around Jon and talking about how great Jon is.
Exactly. She's not the hero.
And I get it's not just I get all that. I appreciate that that's in there.
Right. I
just needed more breadcrumbs till we got to that gingerbread house.
Yep.
Because they're like, we just were walking through the woods, like, oh shit, there's a gingerbread house here. Nobody let us here.
Yeah. I agree. How'd you feel about Grey Worm?
Underwritten this season. Underwritten. I wanted more for him. But I don't have specific notes. Nothing really changed about Grey Worm from season 7 to 8. Things were taken from him in 8.
Yeah, exactly. He's just the same character with less.
Yeah, there's no progression, no anything. And I mean, I don't want to get into it, but too hard. But by Jon killing Dany, and then literally all the ethnic people and the women who are in charge are out.
Yeah, that was a pretty white board of directors.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of go, oh well, Sansa's Queen of the North, and she demanded that. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's one.
Yep.
That's one.
Meanwhile, all you Browns and non-penis having people, get out of here.
Make like a tree and get out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my coworker into Game of Thrones, and he texted me after the episode was over that he was mad.
Mm-hmm.
So today at work, I was talking to him, and he said that he didn't like the way Grey Worm was portrayed when he was killing the Lannister soldiers.
Right.
So I offered him this anecdote analogy. I said, if you had one piece of bread, and that piece of bread was moldy at the corner, and you cut off the majority of the mold, but you left a little bit of mold on there, would you use that bread with the mold, or would you take another cut?
Uh-huh.
And he said that he would throw away the bread.
Right.
And I said, congratulations, you're Daenerys Targaryen.
Right. Yeah. Well, Grey Worm was rage killing. What are you going to do?
I mean, not.
Well, I go to my Peter Quill defense of take
emotions. I get you.
Not just emotions, if you're in love and stuff, after someone takes that from you, nothing matters, man. The world doesn't matter. The world's gone now. The universe is gone.
Your world is gone.
Yeah. So everything else can burn, and I get that. I just wish something else. I wish his character progression this year wasn't, hey, let's kill his girlfriend and then send him to the island where his girlfriend's from.
Is that where they went?
Yeah, North. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Butterfly Isles. He says we're sailing to North. How'd you feel about John's ending?
I feel like it was apt, but I do wonder where that's going to go. So, like, the Night's Watch was originally created to defend against the wildlings.
No. It was created to defense against the others, and it became...
Right.
Yeah.
In the show that we got. It was somewhere you went... You were sent there. You were exiled there, and whatever. But now that there are no others anymore, there's no more White Walkers, the wildlings are cool now. How many years is it going to take before everybody that you banished to the wall decides, no, I want to go back?
I don't know if that's the kind of culture they have. I mean, it's a culture of tradition.
You say that, but the last people to have the tradition were John, Mormont, and then the asshole captain guy.
But they all died.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is there's nobody left there to keep those traditions alive.
I mean, if there's still a Night's Watch, someone has been. That was like, it's lazy script writing, but even John goes, there's still a Night's Watch? And that's like, yeah, there you go. I guess there is. Yeah. That's the show saying, yeah, they've just been keeping on.
I don't know. I would not be surprised if one of the spin-off Game of Thrones shows we get is about just banished people from the Night's Watch trying to make a comeback.
Oh. Wow. No.
I think
it's going to be a bunch of prequels.
Yeah.
I just read an article about it today, but it's like, I also don't think any of those prequels have legs. I think there's going to be enough like weird resentment from this that no one's going to watch a prequel show. I don't think. I like Jon Snow's end. Like I implied a second ago, I think kind of going, hey, there's still a Night's Watch, is lazy.
Yeah. We're still here, guys.
But there was a lovely shot of him riding out into the north with a
pet Ghost.
Yeah, there you go, people. With a little smile on his face.
You can cancel your petitions. he pet his dog.
Everyone at PETA went, yay!
Yeah.
With his ginger buddy. I like that. Again, talk about weird writing. That, like, the stories monologue, and who's got a better story than Bran? It's like, everyone there. Everyone there. You have a better story than Bran. Bran has a better story than Bran. Sansa has a better story than Bran.
Well, here's the thing. Bran has all of those stories. And also...
That's not what he was saying. He was saying, like, he's Bran the Broken. He survived being pushed out of a window, and he went beyond the north. And
Right. Yeah. He's lived an adventurous life.
He's the three-eyed crow.
I mean, I think that him becoming the new king is a good decision, like, politically.
Yes, of
because,
course,
if you have issues, I'm just going to warg into that, like, pig, and you can talk to a pig. And
no, I don't...
Tell me
what?
Tell me what your issues are.
What? No, unpack that for me.
What do you mean?
Where does that come into it? So, Your Highness...
So you have...
All right, you're Bran. You're Bran.
Yes.
You're Bran, and I'm some lord.
Right,
and
so we'll say that you're in the Vale. You're Robin Aaron.
Okay, fine. Your Highness, we've been having a hard time getting grain from the Reach because the hill tribes keep coming and attacking the caravans. Is this actually the king, or they told me to talk to you? Just looking around the room at gold cloaks.
I don't know, man. He can be everywhere, so it seems apt that, like, he's a cell phone.
Right. Well, I was kind of pissy that he was like, "I'll go look for Drogon," and it was like we didn't see anything.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah,
that would have been a nice shot.
Because I was imagining like Drogon took her to some volcano and like dropped her in it, and then she walks out of the volcano like Ra's al Ghul, like laughing her ass off or something. Like,
honestly, that would be pretty dope.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that because
like
that's an instant sequel.
He took her body.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I even fast forwarded through the credits because I was like, maybe. Like,
yeah. No dice.
Yeah, no dice.
All right. Okay. Who do you think had the best ending?
I mean, Arya, probably. Arya had the probably best showing of this season. She was the only one who really, not so much had an arc. I would say almost no one had an arc except for Jon and Dany. But Arya she was a boss ass bitch. She got shit done, and she's compelling. And she's easy to root for.
Yeah.
So I think Arya probably had the best ending of like living my truth,
Yep.
and I'm gonna go and explore. And be like, I was joking last night, like, maybe she doesn't go exploring. She just is like, I'm going to be a pirate.
I would, oh my goodness. You're the second person to bring that up. My coworker also brought that up. And I want nothing more.
Yeah, I want that.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a Dread Pirate Robinson.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Type character.
Captain No One.
Yeah.
Would be really good.
It was rad when she was just next to him.
Yeah.
That. I was like, man, that's so cool. I really wanted him to like reverse Jim Gordon. Like, what?
Why do you do that?
Stop that! But other than the finale,
right?
Other than the finale, the penultimate episode was tough for me to watch. The Clegane Bowl was slightly underwhelming. He really looked like Darth Vader without the mask on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, though.
I was slightly underwhelmed by it.
I like the just die.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Tackles them through a wall. It's pretty rad. I really liked the moment he had with Arya. It was very sweet.
It was very sweet.
Man, oh man. It's such a bummer. I'm trying to think of. Like, the first 2 episodes I really liked. Like, I'm a big fan of Ed.
Yeah.
So Ed got some showing in this last season. I liked that. I liked Jon. Of course, during the long night, Jon gets stuck having to fight the zombie dragon.
Yeah.
Because he's Jon Snow. He's the Cyclops of the piece.
He shouted a dragon to death, and he won the war.
That was cool.
It was
I forget who I was talking to. I was like, what was he doing? I was like, I'm pretty sure he was just pretty aggravated.
I love that, like, in his head, he's just like, yeah, I just shouted, and
I
we won.
But, I don't want to just laundry list little. The season finale really made it was a salve. It was like, okay, this actually ended up being better than I expected.
Yeah.
The ending. And the 8th season was what the 8th season was.
Exactly. And it's in the books, to use that turn of phrase.
Oh, of course, yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah. But, like, again, if you're not satisfied with it, fingers crossed you'll get to read the last book.
Right, yeah. His son will finish it if he croaks.
Well, he said that he doesn't want anybody else working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Kurt Cobain said, don't ever release my journals.
Yeah.
But yeah, the books are coming out. The books are coming out, the last book are coming out, so if you didn't like this, go check that out. And if you don't like either of those, go screw, read Lord of the Rings.
Or Westworld. New season of Westworld's coming out.
Yeah, that's cool. I got to really rub that in Dave's face.
Oh, really?
It's like, do you see that trailer? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, it really looks like a Western, right?
It's not.
I know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
That's the end of this. Will probably be the end of our Game of Thrones. I wanted to talk about the Florence and the Machine live thing that I sent you.
Yeah.
Only in that, like, I love that type of pageantry. She's about to sing Jenny of the Old Stones live somewhere,
right?
And she dedicates it to Arya, who saved us all. And I love that type of.
That's very, very solid.
Yeah. I love that kind of commitment to the pop culture.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the pageantry of this last season. Like, there was that song, and there's that song "Power" by
Kanye West
and somebody else. But I like that there's like 3 other people. Is it Kanye West?
It's not Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
Kanye West has a song called Power.
No, this one's called Power, and it's about Game of Thrones. But I liked all that kind of stuff. I liked the little parade that happened to say goodbye to this, like, phenomenon. Like Kit Harington said, he was like, Game of Thrones is my 20s, and it kind of was mine, too. Like, I was 23, I think, when it started.
Yeah.
It's in a whole different relationship, living in a completely different state. But yeah. Overall, I'm glad I got to watch Game of Thrones.
Same. I'm very glad that I got to enjoy the the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe in a couple of weeks we'll like come back and talk about best moments of the series or something like that once it's got to live with us for a little bit. Or maybe we won't think about it at all. There, we'll wrap that up. So, do you want to go into homework? Because we both kind of did our homework in a weird way.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
Let's talk about your homework first, because we can talk more about my homework, I believe.
So, I read one issue of Gotham PD. I read issue number 13 of GPD. Is that what the book's called proper? Gotham Central.
Gotham Central, yeah.
I don't know where I pulled that from. And, I don't know, very noir.
Very noir.
Really enjoying the art. Reminds me of the early Daredevil books.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I was like, after you told me to read the Brubaker run, I was like, I think he would kind of vibe with this art style.
But I didn't finish it. I'm interested in it. I don't know any of those characters really.
Okay.
So yeah. I'm gonna keep reading it.
That's fine.
Because you know what I got sucked into.
Yeah. So, for my homework, you gave me the Spider-Verse big epic event crossover type deal.
Yeah, because comics, let me get in the realm of my Comixology put it on Unlimited, and I saw it, and I was like, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah. So I didn't get all the way through it because it's 608 pages long.
Yeah.
And I'm not made of free time. But I've also read parts of this before, so I'm not wholly unaware of it.
I'd never heard of Silk.
Really?
Never heard of Silk.
Oh, man.
This is my introduction to Silk. I'm very interested in that character.
You should check out is it Original Sin? I think that's the name of the comic where she's introduced.
I've read Original Sin, where Uatu gets shot. Uatu the Walker?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's...
Thoughts or prayers to Uatu's friends and family.
Yep. Never forget.
But yeah, I read that.
I thought she was in that.
I read that on vacation last year when you were watching my cat.
Maybe it's Spider-Man specific Original Sin.
I read the Original Sin proper.
Okay.
Whatever, omnibus,
Yeah.
So, this Into the Spider-Verse, is that what it's called?
No, it's just called
Spider-Verse. Called Spider-Verse?
Yep.
So, they're being hunted down by this family called the Inheritors.
Yes.
And they
vampires.
It's but they're vampires is too reductive. They're like these they do like live off of life force.
Yep.
But they also seem to dine on flesh and whatnot when they feel like it. And they're all very not steampunky.
They're Victorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victorian as hell. And they come from the multiverse world 001.
Loom World.
Yeah, which they call Loom World. Interesting characters. They really played for me. I don't know why that aesthetic works for me in a Spider-Man book.
Talk about the broad concept of it?
Oh, sure.
So the Inheritors are this sort of absolute. They come from Earth 001, Loom World, and they have trapped what they call the Grand Weaver, I believe is what they call him.
Yeah, this guy seems to have some kind of sway over all of reality.
Yes, and the Inheritors feed off of totems, quote unquote totems, life force, and specifically spider totems, animal totems, life force, which leads them to tracking down all of the various spider people from across the various dimensions.
It's like the first book opens up with like a Spider-Man 1602 type of guy, but they're all kind of versions of Pete.
Acts of daring do.
Yeah, they're all different versions of Pete. If you've read any multiverse comic book stuff, you know what this is like.
Exactly.
It's also, if you watched Into the Spider-Verse, it's like, it's Pete but not. He's blonde and he has a different middle name, or it's Pete but not because he's Indian and that gentleman's name I could not pronounce. The Indian
Paviter.
Okay,
I think I'm not sure.
I'm bad with that stuff. So this family of inheritors are hunting down spider totems across the multiverse, and our Spider-Mens, they've got to pull together.
They've got two Spider-Mans.
Yeah. So but like everyone, there's Kane, there's of course Pete There's Ben Reilly. There's this Silk chick. There's
Superior Spider-Man.
There's Superior Spider-Man. There's I was about to say Otto. There's the manga Spider-Man who has a big robot guy. There's
Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner from the universe where he becomes Spider-Man and not the Hulk.
There's a assassin Spider-Man who he's the one I'm most interested in, who like trained with Wolverine, and him and Wolverine are like partners. Yeah, like that's the Wolverine gets killed by one of the inheritors, and Petey goes, Logan! And I just, I'm a big X-Men fan.
Does your web shooters have bullets in them?
Yeah.
Yours don't?
Yep.
Really good. Spider-Gwen also.
Spider-Gwen, Hobie Brown? The Spider-Punk?
Yeah.
Hobie,
I believe so.
Yeah. Who, other than my friend playing that video game, I'd never heard of Spider-Punk before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I checked.
Called?
Spider-Man. It's just Spider-Man.
Okay,
yeah. I'm pretty sure I read like 2 issues of Spider-Punk because they were on Unlimited.
So those are the aesthetics, but it's like it's a big crossover. Here's what I didn't like about the book is that it's a crossover a la your like Civil War. It's a crossover, guys. So like there's a main story being told through a couple of different books. And then in other books, Group A will separate from Group B to go accomplish this goal. And the graphic novel separates those in blocks.
Yeah.
So if Group B is diverging from A, to read about that, you have to flip to the end of the graphic novel and find that stuff specifically. That bothered me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
House of M didn't do
that. Yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from.
I want to read it all, you know? And when they... Did you get as far as them going to the Earth where there's radioactive?
Yes.
Yeah. So Uncle Ben?
Uncle Ben.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've never read anything where Uncle Ben is just there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then the Amazing Spider Girl, like the Peter Parker and MJ's daughter from...
Mayday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I've read her stuff before because my ex-girlfriend used to really like that book. I'm just listing things that are in the book. I'm so sorry. It's this really interesting romp, and like, again, the aesthetic of the Inheritors is a Victorian aesthetic, which somehow really works for villains against Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And they have all these kind of multiverse, like I always call them putties. Like from Power Rangers. Yeah. So like there are all these kind of like different versions of Green Goblins and like Rhino.
I love those.
Yeah, me too.
My pets. Like, it was so good. Like I loved Kraven and Silver Sable. That's so dope.
So it's this book of Spider-Man getting hunted down by, all of our Spider-Men being hunted down by this family of inheritors that are I think new villains. I believe from context, one of them has been in some earlier books. But introducing this family is like a whole new row of rogues.
Yes.
And what was I getting to? So yeah, Spider-Man fighting these inheritors and like I don't know why, but the look really worked for me.
Well, I mean, it's also like a quintessential Spider-Man thing. It's no matter what Peter Parker has on his side, he's on the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all of what this series is. It's just Peter Parker trying to survive.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I also am a huge fan. So not only did they pull from Spider People from the comic universe, there's also Spectacular Spider-Man from the TV show.
Right.
The Amazing Spider-Man from the TV show from the 90s. There's a world where Spider-Man's... Spider-Man and his super friends?
Yeah.
Where he teams up with Iceman and Firestorm. Yeah, they're just
his
dead.
amazing friends.
Yeah. And it's like, I love that they went outside and the art style was matched to it. Like when you watch Spectacular Spider-Man, he looks like he does in the cartoon.
Yes. There's a lot of really cool Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
If you're a
and
Spider-Man
the manga
fan.
Spider-Man's in black and white. Like it's really cool.
The Amazing Spider-Man thing was the only thing I caught. Because I know that cartoon, I used to have like the tapes and stuff. So I didn't catch the 90s one. I missed that.
When they
Spectacular, I caught.
So when they went to the world and they saw the Daily Bugle, and there's like, well, it's the only building that has a sign on it. And wait, what kind of building in New York City only has 6 rows of windows?
I thought that was 1965 Spider-Man.
That
was. That was the 65 show.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem. Like that one I caught too.
Yeah.
That's why this was like,
I want pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Really good, Jay.
And Spectacular and 65 Pete see each other in their garb, and they're like, "That's how you dress."
Also, the introduction of the Web Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call us that.
Miles does not like that name.
Until he does.
He grows on him, yeah.
Like a fungus.
Because he makes friends with Spectacular Pete.
Yeah.
Because they're like age appropriate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're the same age.
And Spectacular Pete loves to riff. He's a riffer. Man, this book really worked for me on that like Marvel fanboy level, where it was just enough Easter eggs and just enough actually good content that I could like chew my teeth into. That's not that great.
You could chew your teeth into.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dig my teeth into. Yeah, really good. Really recommend that book. It made me not read Gotham Central. And I was still reading it today. I was still flipping through stuff today.
I was also flipping through it today.
It was House of M level enjoyable for me. I wish that the book was organized a little bit better. I really, you know.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's my only criticism.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I like that. It has to be Nick Spencer, right? With all the little like blurbs in the corner. Like,
I don't know.
If you want that, check it
There's
out.
some
Nick.
Dan Slott. There's some.
Well, the only thing is, like, I don't think Nick Spencer was credited as a writer, but I think he was working on some of the outside projects, like on the outside of the web.
Well, he's definitely in the fold at that point because this is post stuff you've had me read.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's post Superior.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. Check out Into the Spider-Verse. Or check out the Spider-Verse.
I mean, you should also check out Into the Spider-Verse.
Check out the Spider-Verse. It's a good book.
It's fantastic.
I want to read this. I know that there's another one that comes after that.
Yes.
Really looking forward to it. I might just buy that because I enjoyed this book so much.
It's really good. Do you have homework for me this week?
No, not yet. I'll figure it out like
Okay.
I did this week. Yeah.
I'm caught between two things. I have a TV show or another comic.
Well, I didn't do the Gotham Central. You don't want me to finish that?
No,
I could do
I
both.
Figure, I figure you're going to finish that. But I also
let's try a TV show. Let's mix it up.
Okay. I want you to watch Castlevania.
Oh, okay.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. I'm going to try and push you slightly into anime.
Into some anime? All right, I'll give it a whirl.
It's not an anime. I will tell you that. Like, aesthetically, it is an anime, but...
It's not story structure-wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All the anime tropes, nothing.
Okay,
Like,
I'll give it a whirl.
And I also think that you'll dig it.
1 or 2 episodes, or just however
many you want to watch.
Okay.
Yep, just let me know how far you get, and we'll talk about those ones.
Okay.
Just a warning ahead of time. It's Castlevania. It's vampires
and Nazis and shooting, right?
Well, for the first season, I only want you to do the first season if you get through the first thing.
There was a manga I used to read where there was vampires, and it had a lot to do with religion.
You talking about Hellsing, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a bit different than that. More so focused on like the old-timey era.
Okay.
But there's a lot of gore.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that
I'm cooler with gore than... I mean, you know, it depends. It depends on how it's done.
Blood Drive, great.
No.
Other stuff.
Blood Drive, do you want to... I mean, I've thought a lot about it. We can talk about the problem with Blood Drive, and it's not the wanton violence.
I can't kill my darlings.
It's the... No.
I can't follow my own advice.
It's the bad acting and poor plot.
Pish posh.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Do you want to talk about nerdy
The
stuff?
fact that you can watch that announcer guy is shocking to me.
The fact that I can watch that and what?
The announcer guy in Blood Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that acting doesn't churn your stomach.
It's great.
It is not. It's not.
You're bonkers. Hit us up on the Twitter at nerdy_pod and let us know how you feel about Blood Drive.
Yeah. Or Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, actual art. Which you called Tinker Tailor Soldier Suck last week, which when I re-listened to the podcast, I was like, I hate him. Really got to me. You know, in the realm of wanting to give you homework, there's this, talk to Nate about this. If you have, there's this.
Talk to Nate every week.
There's this book called Lexicon.
Okay.
That's really, really good. And just mention it to Nate, see if he's read it.
He has.
And
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. Just have him kind of break it down for you. So that's kind of like extra credit or like a project thing. this is not a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy situation. This is a thing I really think you would like.
Okay.
But it would be hard for me to describe it, especially because it's been 3 years since I've read it.
Okay.
But Nick could also, I've heard him talk about literature. He could do it much more concisely than I could.
I'll get the download from him.
So in the, and I'll probably text you and remind you of that, because I've been thinking about that a lot. This book that I read.
Okay.
I think Vince would like it, but I it's not a homework type thing, because it's like a novella. It's not short.
Yeah.
But yeah, something will hit me organically, like that Spider-Verse thing.
Sure thing.
Nerdy things we did this week. You want to start?
Sure. I haven't done much nerdy stuff this week.
You're out buying a house.
Yeah. I am buying a house, which means that we will have to change the name of the podcast, unfortunately.
No. We're not rebranding.
Yeah, so I got that going on. I've also got, like, other stuff happening.
Right.
But I should be playing D&D tomorrow, or
Cool.
something like D&D. So I'm excited for that. I don't really think I've been up to too much. It's really been Game of Thrones and...
Yeah. Did you only watch the series finale once?
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. Which is not normally, especially in previous seasons.
Right.
I watch it the Sunday and the Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
I know you're one to go back on things to make sure.
Yeah. I sponged it all in. Also, before I do that, did you see the water bottle on Sam's foot?
I did not see the water bottle. There's another.
There's a water bottle.
Are you serious?
Yeah. There's a water bottle.
These guys get to do
Star
Wars.
You can cut this out, but I have to show you.
Oh man,
Samuel.
Seriously, whoever that set producer is or set supervisor, Jesus.
Oh yeah, the continuity people.
You got some splaining to do, fam.
All right. Well, here's one. Here's just a still. Go away, Twitter thing. See it?
Oh my goodness.
So in the council scene in the series finale, if you look next to Sam's, for us, left foot, there's a water bottle. There's like an Aquafina bottle.
Yeah.
Just right there. And so Vince pointed out that Jamie grew back his hand. Here it is in action. So Vince pointed out that Jamie grew back his hand. We had the infamous coffee cup. And now, just to round it all out, Samuel Tarley has invented plastic.
Yeah. Man. Jeez Louise.
Oh, did you like the Samuel invents democracy?
Yeah, I thought it was very funny.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll
let my horse vote.
British. Okay, so, nerdy things I did this week. I have not walked away from my strange spy movie / Cold War obsession. So I watched this movie made in 2018 that I'd never heard of before called The Catcher is a Spy. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
Starring Paul Rudd and Jeff Daniels. It's a true story about a World War II spy. I highly recommend it. It's not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy boring.
Right. Yeah.
It's very it
has Paul Rudd.
Well, he's playing it very straight,
Okay.
which is funny because, all right, so I'm flipping the channels and Catcher's a Spy. That's one of my favorite words, a spy. And I stopped and I'm like, Paul
That's
Rudd.
one of my favorite words, a spy. That's very good.
Paul Rudd, what are you doing here? It's the beginning of the movie, and he is a private citizen who was a professional baseball player who happened to be in Japan and took some footage of the naval forces gathering before Japan officially jumped into the war. He was able to bring that footage back to the Pentagon, again, as a private citizen.
Right.
So after it's viewed, he's being interviewed by a general who's being played by Jeff Daniels, and they're going over his... And I looked this up. This is a true story. And I looked up this guy's resume. This guy really existed, and this was his resume. He was a professional baseball player. He spoke 4 languages, could understand 7. And was... obviously if he's a professional baseball, he's athletically inclined. He's very smart, all that kind of stuff. He also had the gumption to be like, I'm going to record this. And so he's, we don't really have a spy. There's no CIA yet. It's World War II.
Right. Yeah.
So, Jeff Daniels is interviewing him to essentially join the OSS. And at one point, this is what made me stick to the movie. I've been watching for 5 minutes at this point. And at one point, Jeff Daniels says, all right, you're not married and you don't have kids. It's a little odd for someone your age, don't you think? And Paul Rudd says, I never really thought about it. And they're quiet for a beat, and Jeff Daniels looks at him and says, I'm going to ask you something very personal right now. Are you a queer? And Paul Rudd, without missing a beat, goes, I know how to keep a secret. And I was like, I'm watching this movie.
That's a very good line.
I'm watching this movie. It was so good. It was really, really good. It made me dig into I'm a big, that era is very romantic to me, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I got you.
Part of me resents myself for finding it so romantic. The world was going to end.
But it didn't.
But there was some interesting stuff about the Germans' nuclear program, and maybe the guy who was heading it was actively stalling it. Historians still don't know for sure whether this Heisenberg guy, that was his name,
right,
was actively stalling the Nazis' nuclear program. And, I mean, fascinating stuff. I watched Charlie Wilson's War. Full of great one-liners. That movie is so full of great one-liners. There's one of the lines is Julia Roberts says to Charlie Wilson, what is taking the Senate so long to have a position on the Afghanistan war? And Charlie Wilson says, well, tradition mostly. Other nerdy things. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say on Pod, but it's not hitting me right now. I really wanted to talk about The Catcher is a Spy. Not homework, but a recommendation for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And also, hour and a half.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Breezy.
In and out. Yeah. Mark Strong is plays Heisenberg.
Man, that guy.
Yeah. Paul Giamatti.
Spy movies.
Paul Giamatti plays a German physicist who is. It's just funny to watch Paul Giamatti do accents. He says closer. I'm sorry.
I mean, he did a fantastic Russian accent in his Spider-Man 2.
I never saw that. Nope.
Don't.
Yeah.
You won't like it.
Yeah.
I love it. You won't like it.
You know, I had hang-ups with Garfield.
I know. Stupid sexy Spider-Man.
That was it. I watched Black Panther again because it's really good.
It is rad.
The
soundtrack for Black Panther slaps.
Yeah. It slaps. I just heard about that for the last week. And I was like, I'm going to start saying slaps.
Do it.
We should have, this whole episode, just been slapping left and right. That's it.
That's the thing about Nerdy Neighbors, Zach. Nerdy Neighbors slaps.
I know we do, baby. That's it. Nothing else is really hitting me terribly hard now. Oh, you know what else in the realm of that, somewhat, is I watched that Showtime show, Black Monday.
Right.
I watched all of it. Did you hear about that or see any?
Nope.
It was really funny. It was really, really, really good. And this was the thing I wanted to say. It takes place in the 80s, and they cut in a bunch of footage of just New York in the 80s. Like, what do you call that type of footage where it's just on the street? There's a term for it.
Shaky cam?
No. Neither of us is going to come up with this, and I'm upset about it. But it's just street footage that was shot in the 80s.
Oh, handheld stuff.
Yes, yeah. But there's a term for it. We can look it up.
Type deal.
Not really. No.
Oh, okay.
It's it's like they don't call it dead footage, but it's just nothing.
Okay.
It's just like a shot of a bridge.
Right.
And cars driving past it. But
nothing.
it was shot in 85,
Gotcha.
So it looks grainy, and it's those 85 cars. So there's a lot of and they shoot it with old 80s cameras. But none of this is why I'm bringing it up. It's a very funny show. I highly recommend it. Tour de force for Don Cheadle. He's so great on it. But there's a scene where one of the street shots is a thing from Ghostbusters, and I saw Ecto-1.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, final thing. And I saw that Darkest Hour movie. With Darkest Hour is that Winston Churchill movie that Gary Oldman did.
Yep.
And there were so many moments. Kelly was very entertained and then starting to get irritated where people would stop talking. And because everyone was so British and doing the 1940s affectation, where I would just go, British. After lines, I would just go, British. It was a lot of fun.
I can't see how that would be grating.
And that's the end of my nerdy things I did this week. A lot more spy and World War II and post-World War II crap.
I gotcha. Well, Zach.
That's the show.
I do believe that's our show.
Well, we end the show the same way we do every week. By praying to the Lord of Light. Valerian. Vince is on fire!